Good morning. Welcome to Retro Toy Princess. I am Allison Joy, and today I'm going to be working on this double page spread from a Jem and the Holograms coloring book, and just sort of here to chat today and you know hang out. And really quickly, let's see. There we go. Good morning, Chris. Lovely to see you. I hope you are having a good day so far. And if you're just getting here, smack the like, do all the YouTubey things. Good morning, Nolan. Let's see if I can. Yep, there you go. Thank you. All right. So yeah, I put a thing on my community. I put a poll on my community tab and said, pick what you would like me to color, and this Jem got the most votes, so I picked. It's very ambitious. It is a double page spread. I cannot imagine I will actually finish this on stream today, and if that is the case, it's okay. I won't finish this one off stream. What I will do is finish it on a future live stream. So, but I'm gonna get as much of it done as I can. Since it is a double page spread, there are sort of some blanks. I'm just going to use my ruler and a black, just a cheap black. I think it's like a knockoff Sharpie. And I'm just going to use that because I have found this particular pen is, when it dries, is closest to the ink and the look of the ink that my printer uses when I print these pages out. So I'm just going to fill in those blanks. I do this from time to time, more so lately on Color and Chill when I'm doing a 2-page spread, just so that it doesn't have like a big white bar down the middle. Okay, there we go. So we have a pool. And the context, because the book this is from is a story, and the context is Pizzazz was trying to show Jem up. They're at this resort competing, as they always were. And Pizzazz was trying to show Jem up. And Synergy did a hologram that made it look like she was covered in seaweed. So they're being kicked out of the pool for being a nuisance. So yeah, so we've got some, and they're in bathing suits. And then we've got Eric, who's the evil old white man of Jem the Holograms. So that's special. Oh no. I'm sorry to hear that. I am hoping that it's as mild and as quick as possible. We got that a few weeks here in our home. And other than being really tired and exhausted, that was the worst of my real symptoms. So it went pretty well. I mean, as well as I can go, because I took a lot of naps. Which definitely is not something I make a lot of time for. So it was actually, I'm not going to say it was good, but the silver lining for me was I got a lot of rest that I had not been getting. All right, so I am going to start with sort of the background. I'm going to use sap green light for this grass back here. And there's a palm tree, and I'll do the sky as well, but I'm just going to start with this. And I'm going to sketch this in lightly because I'm going to go in with a couple different shades of green for this, just so that it doesn't look. Despite the fact Jem and the Holograms was a cartoon, I like to try to add a little bit of realism where I can with these, so that it's a little less flat. I didn't watch the cartoon a lot as a kid. It came on Saturdays in our area, and it was right around early middle school, I guess, for me. It was sort of in between elementary and middle school. Somewhere is where it fell. So I was getting to that part where I wanted to sleep in on Saturdays and wasn't really necessarily getting up to watch cartoons as much. To get up and go grab a book and go find a corner to go read. or a comic book or whatever. So I watched as much Jem as I wanted to. And it was just, reading, finding a corner to read. And we had a pretty sizable piece of property where I grew up in Louisiana. And I would just go find a private little corner to hang out in. So but yeah, I'm just going to put this down first. I like this because it's sort of a darker green, but it's also still pretty, it's like a limeish, a darker lime almost. And it'll work really good when I go in with sort of brighter greens. So that it gets sort of a nice, I also sort of want that 80s color and pop look. So, because Jem especially did a lot of sort of neon and sort of a bright, sort of like the blue of my glove today. We should be able to do the full 2 hours today. There's plenty of art for it. I will say that on Friday I finished the page early, but went ahead and wrapped up because I was having a little bit of hand pain. So if that happens today, we may wrap up early because I have learned not to push through the pain, and we've got a lot going on. So it's a busy time in the kingdom of Alice and Troy. So there we go. Well, let me poke in and see who is here. Oh, no worries. Lovely to see you, Brendan, and I hope you have a good visit with family. Good morning, Black Phoenix. Alex, lovely to see you. I was very fortunate that I have a job that very understanding. So, good morning, Todd, and happy Sunday to you. I hope you are having a good one so far. And for everyone who has tomorrow off, such as myself, I hope you have a good day off tomorrow. I am going to be doing a bunch of stuff. I guess I'll talk a little bit, because some of the stream today was to talk about channel stuff. We are moving finally over the next couple of months. Well, it's a little bit of a process, but it shouldn't overly impact. There'll probably be a few less, there may be a few less videos, but I have stockpiled some stuff. So there shouldn't be anything, there won't be any extra stuff probably, which I do a lot of extra stuff. But I do have, for instance, all of September. Tonight I have one more short to do, and I'll have a full month of shorts up. And I've got a bunch of editing I'm going to do tomorrow. So September should be fine content-wise. October might be a little dicey because a lot of the packing and stuff will be in September, and that I try to film stuff the month before. So just a heads up with that. But otherwise, same, like on Monday, I've got a vintage Princess of Power coloring book flip through that will be dropping. And of course, it has a coloring at the end of it. It's the 1985 Who's Who in Princess of Power, so there's some pretty good pages in it. It's actually there are 3 books that made me start the coloring content, and it was that She-Ra book, a Strawberry Shortcake book, and an old Wonder Woman coloring book. So it's fun to actually finally start really getting around to that She-Ra book, because my original idea was I was just going to do pages from those 3 books, and that's about it. So, and then I got really excited about making stuff, and here we are. So, all right. So today we're going to break into, again, the Prismacolor. It's the manga set. I quite like this, and it works really well for Jem. And there are 2 greens in here that are exemplary. If I could talk, they're sort of my favorite, and it's chartreuse and Spring Green. And they are both really, really bright, and they're really perfect for Jem and the Holograms. So I'm going to start layering those into the grass in the background. I do need to sharpen the chartreuse because I used a little bit of that on Friday for Luke Skywalker. Yeah. So I'm just going to go in with it and sort of brighten up this darker green. And this is where sort of using that darker green pays off for me for the way I like things to look. So. Good morning, Andrew. Yeah, that's going to be me tomorrow. But I have actually through the weekend been exporting sort of files because obviously if you watch one of my coloring videos and it's like color and chill and it's like 10 minutes, that's like 4 to 6 hours of footage that I just speed up. And I film that in blocks. I don't just do a full 4 hour. That way I can get up and go to the bathroom or refill my drink or stop and have dinner or whatever. So I edit those all into one long 3 to 4 hour file, and then from there I trim it, speed it up and trim it. And go cut out like the 5 minutes here and there where I was Googling something for a reference, or I was, if you are, see me chatting in the live stream often, I will pop in and out because I'll lean over because I'll be coloring and I'll hear something. It's like, oh, I need to say something because that's not going down on my watch or whatever it is. So, but yeah, so I got all of the color and chills that are finished for September exported, and 2 of them are down to 15-minute files. So that will be really helpful tomorrow to go in and sort of tinker to get them to the right length and get edited down. So, but I dislike editing. The only time I've ever felt like I really need to make a lot of money on YouTube is when I want to tell myself it would be really nice to hire an editor. And good editing costs money, so it will probably never happen. But it's a goal to make enough money to hire an editor. We all have our YouTube goals, I think. And some of you, your YouTube goal is just to show up and watch stuff and have a good time. And I wish I could be that unattached. I don't know. I gotta make stuff. So. Oh my God, right? That was of the Gem and the like. I haven't watched the full series. I've been watching them I started buckling down and trying to get a couple episodes in regularly since I started the channel because I'm like, I'm gonna color Jem and the Holograms. I'm gonna finally indulge the Jem and the Holograms that I sort of missed out on as a kid because I was a little too old and aging out, and it dropped right at the end of She-Ra. And for me, the end of toys was She-Ra and G.I. Joe. So I've been watching it, and it's really funny because in a lot of ways, the Jem cartoon to me still really holds up pretty well. Like it's still a pretty good show. It's not. Some of these old cartoons have aged like milk, but every so often, cartoon logic is what it. And like I still don't understand why Jerrica has to pretend she's not Jem. Like I sort of got it in the first episode where it was like there's a little bit of ambiguity because Eric was still in charge of Starlight Records, but after after he was out and she was in charge, it makes no sense to me that she's still pretending and it would make things with Rio so much easier. Although I'm not really sure about like the whole Jem and Jerrica Rio love. I mean, just even if it weren't a love triangle. I'm not. Rio's a little bit of a dweeb, I think. I mean, sure, he had cool purple hair or whatever, but I don't know. I feel like she could have done better. But I don't know. Rio also has people who really like the concept of them together. I mean, he's a cool character. I like him as a character. I just don't. I really just honestly, Jem could do better. I always thought Rio and Kimber should be a couple. So, and by always, I mean over the last 2.5 years, as I've finally been getting into Jem. I just finished season 1 recently, so maybe I'll do that tomorrow when I'm editing. I'll put in some old Gem episodes because everything I have to edit tomorrow just needs music. None of it's voiceover stuff. So maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Put in some Gem cartoons while I edit all the coloring content for September. Good morning, Thanos, and congratulations to you on 1 year. I'm sorry I couldn't pop in. It's just with all the packing and everything. By the time I had a spare moment, I think you were already off. I was like, I'll jump on later if I can get ahead. And then I popped in to look and see, and you were already done for the night. So I do apologize, Amos, that I really wanted to hang out and celebrate. Because anyone who makes it a year making content in any capacity deserves the recognition. All right, I am going to do this background in sky now. And for that, I'm going to cloud blue. I'm going to break the ruler out again. Just sort of give myself some lines so that I can stop. It's funny, I only use this clipboard for live streams now. And forever I used it for when I was doing shorts. And then I got the actual filming space sort of set up over yonder. And now I find this clipboard often pretty annoying. So once we're moved and settled in, I think I'm going to retire the clipboard. Well, and plus I'm going to set up my studio in the new place so that like shorts and coloring videos and everything is filmed in the same area where I do live streams. It's just because of the current setup that's not necessarily feasible. So, but we'll get there. It's not a race, it's a marathon. Yeah, I figured. You looked, when I was popping in early, it looks like you were, I'm going to have a short night, but I still wanted to try. Then you were gone, and I'm like, I'm just going to go to bed. Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, it's really sort of, yeah, I mean, in the beginning, like I said, it kind of makes sense. He's in charge of the record company still. This is her chance at kind of getting the record company back. Obviously, she doesn't want him to know that she's Jem, because technically he would own, like, if she loses, he would then potentially be able to, claim ownership of the music almost. Like, there's some reasoning there that kind of makes sense, that they did the best they can, because obviously, like, it's more about, like, the thing is it's, especially in the 80s, well documented that kids sort of like secret identity play patterns. So that's a big part. That's why He-Man and Adam and Prince Adora and She-Ra, because in early She-Ra even, Adora just transformed into She-Ra in front of you. It wasn't like it was a secret. Everyone knew Adora and She-Ra were the same, and then of course Filmation changed that. But originally there was, the secret identity aspect of She-Ra wasn't really there until Filmation really took it and ran with it, and then it became a thing. And I'm going to assume the reasoning for that is because basically Adora has to exist to preserve She-Ra and He-Man. I mean, He-Man and Adam. Because if everyone knows Princess Adora is Adam's sister, and then everyone knows She-Ra and Adora are the same person, it doesn't take a genius to realize that Prince Adam is He-Man with it. You know, it's just Prince Adam with the tan and less clothes. So, but for Jem, for me, I got enough of the reasoning, and not the first, because the first 6 episodes are a full story. So I think it was one of those like, oh, let's make a movie, and then they broke it up into episodes. So I got it for that, but after she once she was in control of Starlight Records, it made no sense to me that she had to have a secret identity. If anything, it just made things unnecessarily complicated for her. So, but again, as kids, it was just fun. All right, I'm gonna quickly throw a sun in back here because I want some sunlight for these people. And of course, this is where the clipboard is not my friend. So we'll pop it right there between the Zaz. Just make it white for now. I'll go in and add some color to that once I finish the sky. Yeah, I think that and also the weird cheating aspect of it, like, I'm gonna say a lot of those of us who were kids in the 80s, many of us suffered from things like infidelity and bad boundaries in relationships. And I wonder how much of it was that we watched Jem the Holograms and saw people cheating on each other and with themselves. Right? Well, there's that side of it. And there's no way, the reality is there's no way that relationship will ever work because she's constantly lying to him. So it was just, I don't know. It just overall was questionable. Really quick, Black Phoenix. Yes, you do need one of those. Same. I for years would be like my circles look like garbage, and then it was like probably 20. No, it was like 2009. Um, when I first started sort of dabbling in art again after a long time of being away from it, I was in like an art store getting Prismacolors open stock, and I saw they had an entire aisle that was just sort of those stencils, and it clicked. I'm like, I bet that's why George Perez always has perfect circles, because George Perez was a master comic book artist, but like there was just so much precision in every circle, and I saw that and it clicked. I'm like, oh my god, I bet all this time I've just thought I have zero talent, and and then I'm like, even George Perez, I'm sure, is using these little circle stencil, like he probably has like super fan. Mine were just like a dollar 50 in like 2009 money, but it's just, and I've got one with squares as well. So I picked up the circle and the square that day, and I've been eternally grateful that I wandered down that aisle. And there was this gross dude who was like trying to make conversation with me, and I was very polite and like, oh, I just need to buy stuff and get going. This is not a love connection, Carl. So I sort of wandered, was trying to avoid him and ended up in this aisle of stencils, and it's like, oh my God. So wherever weird, boundary, gross, not going to happen Carl from the art store is that day, at least he helped me discover the joy of stencils so my circles look better. Thanks, Carl. I'm sure he's a nice guy. He's probably sitting in a basement right now, eating Doritos, complaining about how awful, what a see you next Tuesday I was that day in the art store. Say what? All right, so we've got all of that. Yeah, the art store I used to go to got purchased by Blick, um, which wasn't awful, but all of a sudden, a lot of the sort of cool, like tiny brands that I really enjoyed were suddenly replaced by Blick brand, and some of their store brand Blick stuff isn't that great. Um, and then they closed that location because they, surprise, already had a location. And the cute dude who worked there that I did sort of crush on back in the day was telling me as they were sort of closing that store up that from the moment Blick bought it, like they were planning to close that location. And he pretty much figured that one of the reasons the core bought it was to eliminate the competition. Um, and there are were two other sort of independent art stores, and they bought the other one out, closed that one down. Third one is very, very locally owned, and that basically once the guy who owns it dies, then I'm sure Blick will get it at that point and then close that one too. I still go to that one to buy open stock Prisma whenever I can and other items, but pretty much right now color pencils are pretty much the extent of my art supply purchases these days, which there ain't nothing wrong with that. So art supplies are art supplies. I do buy too much stuff on Amazon, but I think we all do, and we're all guilty of that. And sometimes it's just you need it to come to your door. So, all right, there we go. We have a little bit of an orange synthwave sun in the background, so looking good. All right, I'm going to finish this tree up. And for that, I am going to get a little fancier. Let's see. So I've got this neon green, which is from the Prismacolor Scholar set. I don't like a lot of the Prismacolor neons, but I do find this neon green works pretty good in conjunction. Oh, it broke. There we go. That is the one thing about the neons I have found is they're a little bit more crumbly than other pencils. There we go. I'm just going to use that sort of buff out and blend the green in this palm tree. And then along the edges there, and that kind of makes it look like it's glowing a little bit in the center. Which, technically palm trees don't glow, but it's something I've, for whatever reason, decided to do. Anytime there's a palm tree in a gem page, just sort of makes the tree glow a little bit. So, behold, one of my tropes in play. Thanks. Now let's do the palm tree. And for the palm tree, I'm going to start with sand. sort of go like that. And then I'm going to go in with burnt ochre. I'm just going to shade the edge. I don't need, it's so thin and it's really a background element. I'm just going to sort of go along one side there to help give it a little bit of shading and a bit of dimension. And then just a little bit of goldenrod right in there. And it gives it a nice sort of warm brownness, which is pleasant to behold. So there we go. Yeah, it's really sad all the art stores that are closing. All right, for whatever reason, the interface with StreamYard is being a little peculiar. There we go. And it is not letting, there we are. I think, let's see if it'll work. There we go. All right, so comments may be hit or miss on screen because for whatever reason, StreamYard is not cooperating. But we'll survive. All right, so I'm gonna do the cement full in the background. Technically, this is probably normally going to be something that would be sort of white in the 80s. I'm just going to go with the gray. Just because I try not to do too much white. Hello, Wraith Mace. I see you in chat, and trying to get it to put the comments up. It's just being peculiar. There's probably an update I haven't done yet, so I will get to that obviously after stream. But I'm just going to use it's a pale cold gray from the. It is from the Prismacolor Scholar set. Since I got those out for the neon green, I'm just going to grab some of the grays for the pool. Probably also use this for the sort of cement beneath their feet. Because I think this, if I remember, they're in some sort of like palm, it's not really Palm Desert or Palm Springs, but it's like desert. They're calling it desert. So it's supposed to be like either Palm Springs or Palm Desert. Well, Palm Springs, I'm sure, because I've been to Palm Desert, California, and it's definitely not somewhere you would have a music festival. No slam, but it's just not. It's the side of the interstate, like you've just escaped the desert and you've been driving 8 to 10 hours, you need to stop and get some food or maybe a motel. So, speaking from personal experience. All 3 of the times I visited Palm Desert, California, it was like, oh, New Mexico and Arizona. It was a really long drive. Back in the days where I regularly made the drive from Texas to Oregon by myself, I now look back at them. That was kind of reckless. But maybe not. It was also before, like, I didn't have a cell phone for one of those trips. It was that early in the world. It was like pre-2000, because I didn't get a cell phone until 2003, 2004. And I had been working in the cell phone industry and tech support, and I was just like, I don't need one of those. People don't need to be able to get a hold of me. And then I moved to Oregon and away from everyone, and suddenly I was like, oh, it would be nice to have a cell phone. So I only got on the cell phone bandwagon when it was like convenient, and at that point I was kind of moving a lot. When I first landed in Oregon, it was kind of just I was just gonna hang out and enjoy life for a bit, and for a couple months there, I just kind of couch surfed. So I don't really even. So a cell phone was easiest because it was like I had a phone no matter where I ended up crashing. So, and now I can't imagine doing that because that was not. At the time, it was fun, but It was pretty chaotic, honestly. So, all right, now it's time for the water. And for the water, I'm going to do a bunch of different blues, but it is chlorinated water, so I'm gonna try to stick to lighter hues. I'm gonna start with the same cloud blue that I used for the sky. I'm just gonna use that as sort of the base. And when I do water like this, I don't. It's gonna be really rough and uneven on purpose, just because I'm gonna go in and loop in different colors. I probably will put some turquoise and cobalt in here, just so that it kind of gets that cool water look. But yeah, so I think that'll work. This is the part when I'm doing a color and chill video where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going so fast. It's been barely an hour and it's almost all done. But then once I get to the people, that can take 20, 30 minutes per person, depending. So I just caught myself like, oh, I bet I finished this on stream. And then I'm like, no, we've got 5 people to color in here. And I've actually never colored Eric before, so I'm going to have to double check my references on him. I mean, I think he just has like brown hair, sort of a fake spray tan look, but I'm going to make sure. All right, there we go. Got sort of the first level of water. Adjust the light. It's not a little dark. Here we go. That helps. The nice thing about the new place is I'm going to be able to have sort of lights all around, so that sort of this corner over here, like right in here, is a little dark just because there's no way to really put a light there without me tripping over it. But in the new place, that will not be an issue. So I'm personally excited for sort of the little upgrades I'll be able to do to my workspace. I'm not even going to pretend that that wasn't sort of one of the, when we were looking for a new place, that was 100% one of the, there was a really nice place that I liked, but there was no, without us actually building, there was no, we would have had to like add on to actually have a studio and slash art space. Also, like, I have a day job that requires some stuff, and so yeah. So sadly, the place was perfect in every other way, but it just wouldn't accommodate me making a living and doing YouTube, so, which is too bad. But somebody else will end up finding that place and loving it and being happy. So, I'm just roughly adding in aquamarine, and this is also because I have this color set out. I'm just going to use that one. And again, I'm just sort of unevenly, but also just sort of along where these ripples are. It looks a little bit of a mess right now, but that's normal. And that will change once I go in and add some more blue. Half the time when I do this stuff, because it's a 31-second short or 5 to 10 minute video or whatever, you don't get to linger as much on the in-between spaces of the. Things are just a little bit of a mess. So. I will say I am planning on doing this sort of the first Sunday of each month as just me here talking about the channel, but also having you guys vote for whatever I color for the first of the month. So do keep an eye on the community tab, because in a week or two I'll have another poll that I put up so that we can pick something for October. Jem won't be on it because I'm going to try to spread it out since I'm doing Jem this time. Next month it will be something different. I'm also going to try I know I put like Star Wars and Masters of the Universe and stuff on the poll last time, but I do a lot of that stuff anyway, so I'm going to probably not have those for Sunday poll this next Sunday, the October one. And try to pick some stuff that maybe I don't get to color as much or doesn't get as much coverage on the channel. So, and also in the comments on that, feel free to suggest anything you like that you would like me to color, and I can throw that into the mix. Also, it helps me pick stuff for shorts, because I do like to try to throw stuff out in shorts that maybe isn't as popular as you would think, but it's fun to try stuff. And I'm working on some stuff for Centurions, which hopefully will happen soonish. What's the other one? There's another really rare toy line, not rare. I can't, off the top of my head, it's not there. But there are a couple really sort of smaller but culty toy lines I've got some pages for that will happen over the next couple of months. So, but always feel free to, even if it's just sending me a message on Instagram saying, "Hey, I would love to see X." I'm not former Twitter. I mean, like, send me the name of it, something I haven't done, or say it's something I've only done 1 or 2 shorts for. I'm always happy to hear when somebody wants to see more of something. I do have sporadically a lot of mask shorts coming up, so if you want more masks, you'll be set because there's some more masks coming. I am working on some Transformers stuff. I need to edit it and then start getting everything together. But I am doing a special, my favorite toys, guest starring Ken from Toy Connections, where he talks about one of his favorite Transformers. So once I get the audio edited and know about how much coloring content I need to drop in under that'll happen. So there is some Transformers coming. I have a bunch of GoBots next month. Well, actually, it's this month now. So there's 6 of us who like GoBots. I've got us covered. I think there are 3 shorts, and I have my favorite toy episode. That's me talking about robots. So yeah. Yeah, StreamYard is still being weird about chat. So definitely keep chatting because I'm reading it, but it starts hanging up and freezing if I try to put it on the screen. Oh, StreamYard. I wonder if it could also be like, I think today is the day that my plan through StreamYard renews, and I think I may need to update my card, so it might be a me problem. Anyway, I'll go check that afterwards. All right, we've got the aquamarine down, and it's starting to look like pool water. I am now going to go in with, it's a Scholar, it's another Scholar color, but this one is light green, and I'm going to add just a little bit of the light green because it has like an aqua-ish, but it also helps give it that sort of the pool water, because pool water is like the blue-green aqua thing because of the chlorine and all the reflection off the bottom of the pool. So at least in the 80s, I don't know what happens now. I haven't swam in a public pool or a hotel pool in probably 20 years at this point. Just because at this point, if I'm at a hotel, it's like I'm tired and I need to sleep and I'm not there. When I was a kid, that was like, as soon as like we got checked in, it was like, let's go get in the pool. But now, anyway, yeah, our current place, our complex has a pool, and I don't know. I have no desire to swim with people that I don't know. I'm a little old-fashioned in my old age. Plus, there are all those children screaming out at the pool, like, that's unpleasant. Okay. And also, I'm not sure how well it's translating pretty well on screen. But yeah, this and sort of this light green is blending the aqua and that blue together. So I'm getting a really nice chlorinated pool look. So I am happy with that. So it's pretty good. I'm going to need to note this because I will probably use this combination again. Just looked at the clock. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing great time. I'm going to finish. And then again, I see we've got 5 people. And especially because the hair on all of the ladies is a little extra. So we've got Pizzazz with all her green and Roxy with her white. And then Stormer has like that purplish blue color. And then of course Jem, she's blonde and pink. So Roxy tends to be the one that takes the longest just because trying to get like that white look is it's usually a bunch of grays and a lot of acrylic paint. I mean, I could just leave it, but that's also kind of boring. And for clothes, I just use like a light blue, and I go in and sort of shade, and that combined with the white of the paper gives sort of that look. I tried that in a practice page for Roxy, and that did not work. our girl did not look good. So we will not be doing that to her again. It sort of looks like I had a friend who used to always color her hair, and she'd always do blue and green, and like on the third or fourth week, it just looked really gross, like really faded, really tired, like old seaweed, and that's kind of the effect it had. So don't tell her I said that. But not that I think. I mean, I don't even know where she is anymore. Probably in a dumpster somewhere. She had bad things. So. And her inability to keep up on her colorful hair was not the top of that list. So, but you know, I'm sure she's doing well. It's been a long time. I hope she's well. Bless her heart. Let's see. Black Phoenix, I am reading. Yeah, I do definitely have. I don't know if there's any RC in what I have. I have a lot to go through. Um, One of the sites that I buy old books from has a bunch of Transformers, and I had a coupon, and they were on sale, and I had a coupon, so I got a bunch of PDF Transformers for like 10. It was like 6 to 7 books for like $10. I have not gone through all of them. I went through 2 of them, and I found sort of what Ken, the toy Ken was talking about. So I kind of stopped because I'm like, that's what I need right now at this moment. I do want to go through and find if there's RC because I do want to color RC. You know, it's kind of in line. You know, it's sort of in line with my channel's theme. Um, but yeah, so I definitely want to do more Transformers. Um, Oddly, as a kid, I did not care for Transformers. They were more expensive than GoBots. I liked that I could get more GoBots. I liked that the GoBots were all uniform in size, whereas Transformers were all over the place. So even though Transformed, like Scooter was like ridiculously out of proportion, with all the cars. Like when they were all in robot form, like they all played together. So for me, that was more important than whether or not. Whereas with Transformers, like when they transformed, they were mostly in scale with each other, except like the gun and stuff. But I don't know. I liked GoBots. You could get they were $2 or $3. You could get a couple of them. You were lucky if you could get one Transformer for the same price. And it was never a good Transformer. Like all the cool Transformers were more expensive, whereas Cycle, Leader One, Scooter, Turbo, all the same price. So. And GoBots had all this lady. Like Crasher was like amazing. I loved Crasher. I loved Pathfinder. Spoiler alert: Pathfinder is sort of the star of my favorite toy GoBot thing that I'm doing. And I actually, because I was packing up the shelf she was on when I was filming it, I actually am going to open that video with transforming my Pathfinder. So she's not my vintage Pathfinder, and the reason she's not, you'll have to figure it is part of the episode. So. But yeah, so there's definitely some Transformers stuff on the way. And by on the way, you have to remember, especially with shorts, I film some stuff 2 to 3 months in advance. So even when Transformers stuff is done, it may take a while to get out, especially now that I'm not doing the short every day. Which is good though. It means that when I need to take a day off, I can actually. Well, not right now because of the packing and stuff, but in general, when I need to take a day off, I can. The goal for a while has been to get to a place where one weekend every month I don't have anything to do. And I've gotten there a couple of times, but not enough. There's just so much going on right now. Once we're sort of moved and everything is calmed, I'll be able to get back to that. So, all right, there we go. So the pool is done, and I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, it's got like that nice aqua look to it that you would expect from a pool. I'm not going to do the cement underneath their feet. And we'll get that out of the way, and then we can start. Well, I'm saying we because you're here with me, so we can start coloring the people. I still, even for a live stream, like doing the background first. And I realize because what happens a lot in sort of the coloring that I do that isn't for the internet, like a lot of my Joanna Basford books and Kirby Rosanas, I will actually go in and color sort of like the main characters, and then I'll get bored and never finish those. So even now in personal coloring, I've started doing background first so that I don't get bored and stop. So I thank you to the people watching my stuff who stopped watching in the early days when I would do the main character first. And then me going, oh wait, if I do the main character first, they don't watch the whole thing. Thank you, because that has helped me improve, even in my personal coloring. There we go. We got line down there. I'm just going to do, because it's sort of concrete / cement, I'm just going to do sort of this first layer of gray. I'm going to do pretty rough and uneven. And then I'll go in with one of the other shades and sort of smooth that out. Hello, titular heroine. If you're just getting here, the StreamYard is not cooperating with me displaying chat on the screen. So saying hi, I am following it, but if you don't see comments on the screen, it's not you, it's StreamYard. So I've actually got a couple pages from the one of the 97 coloring books that actually have job as dancers. So at some point, I still have to scan the pages from that book, but I've definitely got. I've also got some vintage, like Ula from Return of the Jedi. So once I sort of get all of that scanned, and I'll probably do like an entire week of shorts that are job as dancers. And probably end it with like a Hut Slayer Leia. And do like a Ladies of Jabba's Palace week or something. Yeah, because I also have a couple pages of Size Noodles from like a vintage book as well as from one of the newer ones where she has lips. Well, different lips. I'll say of the special editions, the thing I liked least was the change in the song. I didn't mind that they built it out more, but that original sort of disco song that Psy and the band does is pretty cool. So They should have just made that bigger and put Jabba's dancers on roller skates so that it was a proper throwback to the 80s. I need to see if that sound is available for shorts. Is the original 1983 Jabba's Palace song, and because that definitely would inspire me to a little bit quicker to do some Jabba's Palace shorts. It's funny, the concrete is not as fun to color as the water ones. It's like, it is a necessary step. All right, there we go. First layer of the concrete is done. Just go in where sort of the lip of the pool is. I'm going with a slightly darker one right here. All right, perfect. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not somebody who like has all the, there are a lot of people who are just angry about the special editions. I'm not one of those. I do think there are a few choices that George Lucas made with those that were not, they weren't in anyone's best interest. But I don't, it was really fun to go to the theater and see Star Wars, all three of them back in like 97. So I think I think that was sort of what kind of got lost in a lot of the, oh my God, he changed this and he changed this. It was just fun to go see a Star Wars movie. And, like some of his choices I don't like or don't agree with, but it's also his movie. Like, if he wants to go change stuff, let him. Mm. He has been a little ridiculous. Like one of the film institutes wanted to induct the various Star Wars movies in, and he was trying to only send them the like special editions, but they were like, no, this is based on the original release. And he was kind of like not cool. And they managed to find old negatives that they used, but it just so he's a little bit too much about the whole like these are the definitive versions, like they're your definitive versions, but they're not the definitive versions for other people, Mr. Lucas. So you need to chill. Um, but I also like when they hit Disney, there was apparently he went in and did another change where when um, Greedo gets unalived, he goes McClunky. And like there are a lot of people who got really sort of unhappy with that, but I thought it cracked me up actually. It's probably the only thing that like I'm not against Greedo shooting first. I'm against it because it didn't look good. Like if the effect doesn't look good, then like don't do it. And that was my problem with it. Like I get the reasoning behind Greedo shooting first. Um, I also do think that he should be legally required to go back and redo the CGI on that Jabba every couple of years because it looks bad by today's standards, and that one should just get upgraded every so often. Like, I'm not against going back and upgrading bad CGI on sort of a classic movie, but because bad CGI now takes me out. Even in last time I watched the special editions, some of the old poorly aged CGI took me out of the movie. But fortunately, I do have those last DVDs that were released with the original cuts on them, so I do have the option to watch the originals. And I think when TBS reruns them, they still show the older versions before all the CGI stuff. So. Oh my goodness, the cement is taking forever. Which is ironic because if you've ever had to pour cement, it also takes forever. And I still lived in the South. I at one point bought a house and had to put in a concrete deck out back. And oh my god, the process of that. Took forever to dry. I was out in the country, a squirrel decided to run across the concrete, and we didn't catch it until after, so there was always a little corner that had squirrel paw prints in it. I'm sure the new owners loved that. But if they loved it, I'm sure they paid to have it taken out and replaced. They probably put something fancy in because they seemed really pretentious. But I made good money off of it, so didn't have to work for almost a year after that. So, made couch surfing much easier. But yeah, that little squirrel, just he had the time of his life on that little corner. But anyway, so long story short, concrete takes a while in every form. And I'm just right now reading all of the special edition stuff. Yeah, I get why people aren't a fan of it, but I don't know. It's also his movie. It would have been really hard to get theaters to just re-release these same movies that were on VHS for years at that point. So it's also a smart marketing decision. It was a way for him to also like test drive some of the technology he used for the prequels. So there are a lot of reasons that aren't artistic that he doesn't talk about when he talks about why he did the special editions. Um, because he went in and edited them the way he did, they wouldn't have fallen under the same distribution deal he would have originally had with 20th Century Fox. So he basically could renegotiate that to get more money. So like there are a lot of sort of business side that are more about like, oh, I just didn't like how it looked. Like I'm sure that's part of it, don't get me wrong, but a lot of it was just George Lucas being really savvy about, if only he's as savvy as being a good filmmaker as he was, sort of marketing and making money off of his movies. So I will say, like overall, he's not the best filmmaker. And while Star Wars: A New Hope is my favorite of all of the movies, Empire Strikes Back is a better film, and it's because Irving Kershner is a better director, and it's pretty well known at this point that Irving let sort of the actors act and let them, which is I just overall think why Empire Strikes Back holds up a lot better is Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and you know, like Harrison Ford were not the best actors back then, but George Lucas definitely didn't give them a lot of room to grow. You know, it's like faster, more intense. Like, how quickly can we get this shot done? Was his entire method. Whereas with Empire Strikes Back, Irving would let them sort of play around with the dialogue, work it. You know, that's why the Han and Leia stuff works really well. Was it was just, I mean, it probably helps that Harrison and Carrie Fisher had an affair at that point, and there was sort of an interpersonal relationship feeding into that. But at the same time, like, he sort of let them play around with that dialogue. He let them rework it. He let them do different takes. You know, he really tried to give them a chance to like build it, and it shows. Like, and that's, I think, part of what Return of the Jedi often falls flat for me, and I think a lot of it was Lucas was way more hands-on with that one, and I don't think Richard Marquand stood up to him as much as he probably should have to make better choices. So those are my Star Wars hot takes on the original trilogies. I get why Lucas did it. I don't get why Lucas is insistent that like only the special edition should be available. I think all the versions should be available so people can see them and compare them. I think for real study of them as films to happen, you have to have easy access to all those versions. And so then you can then debate, you know, sort of, and you know, there's some ethical questions around it. I wish somebody would stop Ridley Scott because I have a bad feeling he's going to do yet another cut of Blade Runner, which nobody needs another one. So, but speaking of Blade Runner, I have a friend who did some original Blade Runner art for me. She did Daryl Hannah's character. My brain is short circuiting on, and then like I have mentioned a few times, haven't really been drawing, but I actually did a portrait of Sean Young's character. Again, I don't know why I'm spazzing. I've seen this movie so many times and I'm spazzing on their names. But I did an original piece of her face portrait. So at some point in the next couple of months, I will have some Blade Runner shorts. So this will be fun. Since Blade Runner is another toy line that we didn't get in the 80s and should have, even though I know people are like, it was rated R. I think Blade Runner toys would have been way more fun, in my opinion, than what we got for RoboCop. So, unpopular opinion. But some cool Blade. One of my earliest toy fairs back in the day, some guy in their custom corner section, he had with like resin and with made his own molds. He did an entire Blade Runner toy line. It was pretty epic. It looked really nice. I probably follow him on Instagram now, and he's probably somebody I bought custom figures from. All right, I think our concrete is good. Oh, and Derek, I'm sorry if I missed you showing up. I saw you, and then I don't know if I said hello. So hello. All right, so now it's time. Oh wait, before that, let's get this. This is definitely water under her shoe because this is a pool. Let's get this watery under the feet. All right, there we go. There's the puddles. All right, so even though chat is being on StreamYard is being a little difficult, who should we color first? And we'll do Eric second, but chime out in chat. Who should I do first? Eric looks a little bit like you, Andrew. Anyway. Yeah, yep, exactly. Prince. That's yeah. Very. She was very excited. She's also working up a page of Rutger Hauer, where he from the big scene at the end, his monologue. And I told her just to have that. That one's gonna take her a while because like she really wants to go all out. And then once I have that one, for the one that she did, I'm gonna we're trying to figure out how she can offer it for people. Because I told her she's got one of her books will be published very soon, and I was telling her she should, if she throws it up, like I could route some people in her direction. Um, Get her a little extra promotion for when her new book hits. As somebody who is in her writers group and has helped critique her various books, I'm always excited when she gets published because I helped her shape the story. Just kidding. Well, sort of, like I will tell her like this thing did not work for me, and then she will figure out how to make it work. So, but she does sort of like futuristic cyberpunk. She's on the spectrum, so it's written sort of sometimes allegorically and sometimes not about being on the spectrum. So it's really interesting stuff. But yeah, so I'm hoping when she has sort of a release date for her book, that's when I plan to get those dropped, just so that I can give an extra link to a place where people can buy her book. All right, there we go. Let's do Eric's skin tone while we're waiting. Actually, I'm going to do all of the skin on all of them, just my first layer. All of the misfits, sort of in the art, have a sort of orangey glow to them. Whereas all of the holograms have a sort of a much less orange complexion in the artwork. I always wondered if that was like, I don't know. It was just interesting to me looking at the artwork, how orange the misfits look, and how like sort of the holograms all sort of have healthy, nice skin tones. So I don't know, it's sort of an odd thing to notice. What are they saying about spray tans, y'all? Of course, in the 80s, like spray tans were not common. It said it meant instead that they were slathering themselves in baby oil and going and roasting in the sun. So not only were they villains, but they were making bad skin care choices. It's also interesting that they're all in bathing suits because I could not find in any of the gym fashions like an entire line of bathing suits. And usually these coloring books would have sort of fashions that they were also trying to sell, like it was used for marketing. So it's really strange sort of trying to find a lot of the outfits they wear in these books, and there weren't actually any outfits released. It makes me wonder if like they had outfits planned that didn't make it, but even in the unreleased stuff, I can't find any of the samples of sort of these outfits. So, and it's not like there's anyone I can easily get in touch with on Instagram and be like, hey, when you guys were making this coloring book for Hasbro, what was the deal? And then, all right, that finishes basic skin. And so for Eric, he is a bit of yeah, we'll start with Eric. And I am going to use a mineral orange for his skin so we can get that too long in the sun orange glow to him. All right, there we go. I'm going to go in with a peach and sort of start blending in the orange. There we are. Excellent. Yeah, there's a lot of it's funny because especially with the coloring, as a kid I didn't get it. As an adult looking at it, it's really clear that like, especially like, it really clicked with the Barbie and the Kenner books, um, because I have um, the Kenner Strawberry Shortcake and all of the Star Wars books now that from the vintage line, and for Strawberry Shortcake they adapted the Big Apple City cartoon in one of the coloring books. And in the cartoon, there's a character called Tea and Honey. She's from England. She's like the smart, sciencey type. She was never made as a doll or as a miniature or, ever referenced in the actual toy line in the 80s. But she was really heavily involved in the actual cartoon and in the story. Like she was, like it was her science know-how that helped Strawberry Shortcake figure out how to save her oven after the Pie Man froze it solid in the cartoon. But she's not in the coloring book. She's completely removed. And then I get to the back of the coloring book and I was looking at it. As a kid, I never noticed that Tea and Honey wasn't in it. I was just happy to color. And but as an adult, I was like, well, why is Tea and Honey not in this? And And then I get to the back, and there's a bunch of sort of pictures back there of other toys you can buy from Strawberry Shortcake. And then I sort of flipped through the Kinder book, and I realized, you know, like half of it is just sort of showing what toys are available. And I was like, oh. And then it sort of clicked. So, you know, and it shouldn't have taken that long for me to figure it out. But it was just like, oh, this is a marketing thing. And it's really clear with the Barbie books, because Barbie didn't ever have, she had a couple cartoon specials for Barbie and the Rockers, which were clearly designed to compete with the Jem cartoon. But in the coloring books, you know, like especially like the Barbie and the Rockers, the color and chill this month is from Barbie and the Rockers, but it's Barbie and Ken playing tennis. And it's like, this is really just weird in the middle of sort of Barbie's on tour. Here she and Ken are playing tennis. And then when I was sort of researching the outfits, because I realized early on a lot of the Barbie stuff is directly from like outfits that were released. Released in 1986, there was a Barbie and Ken 2-pack. Well, they also released them individually, but there was a 2-pack where it was tennis. They were playing tennis. They were tennis stars. And so that would have released the same year as Barbie and the Rockers. So they fit into the Barbie coloring book. For Barbie and the Rockers, they fit in product. And all of her outfits that Barbie wears in the coloring book are Barbie and the Rockers fashions. Like, you know, there's no, and so I was going through the older ones and I started figuring out what year they were released, and I could figure out, for the most part, what outfits they're referencing and what toys are being referenced. And so I realized, and especially the Barbie, it was even before you could, you know, because it wasn't until Reagan came along and did some deregulations that you could do a toy cartoon, you know, like He-Man and all the others. And so the coloring books obviously were not regulated, but a lot of them really, especially stuff before and after, like this is a big way of them marketing the toys to kids. Like, you've got a long car ride, give your kid the coloring book and some crayons and they're good. And the whole time they're getting marketed to of all these toys that you could buy in the store. So it does make coloring it easier, because then, you know, like I can find references usually for stuff. And then sometimes I just decide that I'm gonna, especially with Barbie, half the time I'll go find the actual outfit, and if I don't quite like the color scheme or it's not quite the same, I'll just do whatever I want anyway. Barbie tends to be one of, I wasn't a huge Barbie fan as a kid. I was way more of a Kinder kid. Kinder had Darcy and Strawberry Shortcake. Like, I always gravitated more toward that. Until Barbie and the Rockers. Barbie and the Rockers I found pretty interesting. Even as a kid. But yeah, so sort of doing all this research and just sort of finding, Barbie tends to be fun because like I get to dig around and look at old stuff that I don't remember half the time. Didn't interest me as a kid, but I find it interesting. But then I still kind of do whatever I want. So it's it's very demure, very mindful. Okay. There we go. Got Eric, his dark hair. So I think, since it's the 80s, I think I'm going to do some 80s colors for Eric. All of the references I'm showing have him like in a blue suit. We're gonna Miami Vice him up a little bit. So I'm gonna use this aquamarine for his little vest. Because I think an aquamarine vest looks pretty nice, and that's probably what he'd be wearing in Desert Springs by the pool. Let's see, just go in and give him that. We can see a little bit of his sock, so I'm going to match his socks to the vest. Now we're going to use this light green for his tie. I'm not his tie, for his dress shirt. This gives sort of a nice, it's very sort of 80s colors. So all right, and then we're gonna make him a little tacky because hey, he needs to be a little tacky. I'm gonna use this cloud blue for his actual suit. And yeah, I just kind of make him sort of blend into the sky, but he is pretty bland. So he does seem like the kind of guy who would coordinate his outfit with the pool. And plus, all the ladies are going to be super colorful, so let's keep him in his sort of, because that is the one thing in the cartoons, he is always sort of like in a very sort of respectable, he's quite the 80s businessman. I'm going to do yellow for his tie. I think that'll, and the buttons. That way he'll have a little bit of color. I'm just using Deco Yellow for the top. Sort of a light lemony shade. And for the buttons, I'm going to use acrylic paint pen, the Grabby. And there we go. I'm now going to go in with a slightly darker blue and just do some shading on the suit. Oh, and I missed an entire portion of the suit. There we go. So it happens when I break to sharpen. I will sometimes forget exactly where I left off. Oh, thank you, Doctor. Lovely to see you. Tried to pick one that was color appropriate to the toy line. I've been using this blue one for Supergirl stuff, and yeah, it's a very 80s blue, so, but it is pretty close to the Supergirl, the blue of the 80s Supergirl, so it's time to add another one to the collection of gloves. I was like, let me get one that matches Supergirl, so. Because, you know, I did a bunch of Supergirl content in August, and there's some more stuff coming because technically August was the international release of the Supergirl movie from 1984, 40 years this year. Why is it so long ago? But it didn't get released in the US until November, so there's still more Supergirl stuff on the way. I'm working on a longish video about Selena, the villain from the movie, and some of my thoughts about why they didn't use an actual character who existed in the comic book, and a little bit about Faye Dunaway, because she's pretty cool as an actress. So, no one's written, and parts of it are edited, but no one's a little bit more involved in that one. So. And he's almost done. And then we can get to the ladies, which is where all the color and fun is. I'm thinking for their bathing suits, I'm gonna obviously mimic the color of their normal outfits. I think that makes the most sense. Miss these drops of water. Let me fix that really quick. There we go. I'm going to just use a little bit of the sunburst yellow to go in and shade the tie a bit. And then, of course, this little handkerchief in there. All right. And Eric is, yep, he's done. Eric is done. All right, let's see. So we got, oh, let's see. All right, so we've got Roxy, Pizzazz, and Stormer. I think. So Roxy's hair is like gray and silver, and she's sort of in purple and um, neon yellow, and then she has the multicolored tights and purple shoes. So we're gonna go with. I'm gonna use sort of that purple. Let's see. All right, so for and so for Roxy's look, I'm gonna use two different colors. I'm gonna start with processed red. And again, I'm just gonna try to mimic the look of her normal outfit. And go in, and this again is not. I'm not doing an even layer because we're gonna try something here for the top. And we'll do it for the bottom of that. I am going to say the sash is a really curious choice for the bathing suit. But hey, you know, she's got her own style, so good for her. All right, and now I'm going to go in with mulberry. And again, I'm not going to try to do like a complete coverage with it. I'm just going to try to sort of work it and blend it with that processed red to sort of give it a shimmery fabric-y look. And this is the easiest way with the type of cardstock paper I use to sort of create a texture for fabric. Your mileage will vary because your paper is going to dictate, depending on how much tooth your paper has, that'll also sort of make a difference there. So, but I find this helps when I'm trying to create a look, a texture for fabric. This is sort of one of the ways I do that. So. Ever since me do like velvet and wondered how I did it, this is basically it. Really light and without covering all of the light. Alright, there's her top. And now we're going to do her bikini bottom. And again, just sort of the same technique. little bit heavier where there should be a shadow or less light hitting. There. And sharpen this really quick. I'm gonna use the mulberry for her shoes. And I'm just gonna use it as sort of a flat color. So here I do want to get as much coverage as possible. With just a little bit of sort of the white poking through to sort of give it like a shine. Because I would imagine these are either sort of satin shoes or patent leather or sort of that plasticky shoe that we had in the 80s. So, mostly covered, but leave enough so that it's got sort of that look as though light is hitting it. All right. That's that. So now is her waist sash. Yep, and then that's a neon yellow. So I'm going to start with Deco Yellow. And I'm just going to sort of do a little bit of it. I'm not going to cover the whole thing. And I do actually have a neon yellow pencil, so I'm going to go in and add some of that. Again, I find the Prismacolor neon sort of underwhelming sometimes, but I have found that if I use it in conjunction with like sort of the Deco Yellow, I get a much better neon look. And for 80s fashion, it looks close enough. If I sort of use it, this sort of is sort of a highlight to that Deco Yellow. So, and there you go. We have our neon yellow sash. And for Roxy's skin, I'm going to use pumpkin orange. It's technically orange, but it's has a lot more brown in it. And it's much closer to an actual sort of skin tone than that mineral that we used over on Erica's. I tend to use this one a lot for my skin tones. I'm not going to really go above the cheek because this is where all of her makeup is. And even at the pool, I'm going to assume she's still wearing a little bit of her makeup, just based on the fact they still all have the normal eyebrows and everything else. So like the misfits are the ladies who go to the pool fully made up. Hopefully their mascara is waterproof. Although in the 80s, waterproof mascara was still not really waterproof. It was water resistant. And there's a girl in my class who started wearing makeup really early, like in 6th grade. And I remember one day we got a lot of rain, and it happened while we were, just sometimes in certain parts of the South, it will just out of nowhere, you'll get a storm. And so for the rest of the day, she was referred to, and the rest of the school year, she was the raccoon girl. Because when the water hit her It was probably mean of us, but it was just really fun. She was also kind of a mean girl, so when it happens to like when a mean girl who's horrible and hateful to everyone, when you get that one thing that gets under their skin and you can make fun of them for, you just go for it. No matter if there's hell to pay later or not. Ironically, she's for a while was selling Mary Kay cosmetics. I guess she decided she would figure out how to not have that experience again. I'm gonna go in the same peach here. With the pumpkin orange, it gives it a little bit more of a, like suntan look than sort of the faker tan, the fake tan that Eric sort of looks like he's got. I have to say, in researching Jem and the Holograms, I really like the Hasbro box art for the dolls. Like, it's just so, I try to use that as my references when I'm doing Jem pages because the art is so good on those. I mean, I get why the cartoon art was, simplified just because of the way animation works. But the original box art is just gorgeous. I keep meaning to look to see if there's any sort of like art of Jem and the Holograms books out there. Even if it's just like something like fans put together and did a Kickstarter for. Because there's just some really nice art for Jem. Okay, and I was right. We're almost to the 2 hour point. We're gonna finish Roxy today, and we'll end once she's done. And I'm not gonna finish this after stream. I'm gonna set this aside, and then I'll finish this up on another stream. So, or maybe I'll do like a long video where I finish them. I haven't decided that yet. I might do a poll for that. Let's see. Maybe instead of doing time lapse, I'll finish them in real time and then post that with like music or something. I don't know, we'll figure it out. Just not today. Hello, Alpha Magnus. I see you. If you're just popping in, you've probably missed it. StreamYard and chat today are being sus, so I can't pop you up on the screen. But I see your comment. And hello, welcome. Lovely to see you. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, Black Phoenix. I need to get comics again because thanks to Mr. Andrew over at Gady's Toys, I've been informed that there's a pretty decent Teen Titans comic happening right now that has Starfire and Donna Troy and sort of the OG. And allegedly, I think you were saying, Black Phoenix, that some of the Wonder Woman comics happening right now are pretty good. So it might be time to dip my toes back into monthly books. I mean, that was sort of, as a kid, my pull list was Wonder Woman, Teen Titans, Huntress, and Hawk and Dove. So at least two of those things are still getting published. So I should at least check those out and see. So I will say I've been missing having like a stack of comics. I don't ever want to get to the place where there was a point where I was spending. I mean, I could afford it at the time, but I was spending like $100 every week at the comic shop, and not enjoying most of what I was getting and reading. So it was good to get out for a while, but I am missing having sort of that monthly Wonder Woman fix. All right, so Roxy has over here. She's got the brain thing happening. I'm just gonna mirror that over there. So yeah, we're just gonna pretend that she did her makeup kind of normal for the pool. Give her that hot pink blush right here. I'm gonna do a hot pink for the lip just to start, and I'm gonna add some darker shades in there because these darker shades are great. Alright, I'm going in with pomegranate, and I'm just going to use that to sort of go in and get sort of a really darkish, magenta-ish pink for the lip. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to just finish the rest of her face. And blend it out around the cheeks so that it's not quite so harsh. Alright, so her hair is technically white. So I'm just going to go in with this very, very light gray. And use that for sort of the first layer. If I were doing blonde, this is where I would go in with like cream to sort of build out from. Obviously this, her hair shade needs way less building than a blonde would. But this gives us a little something to work with to sort of create that illusion of the white hair. And it's pretty light, so it will translate mostly as white. I'm now going to go in with a darker gray, but not too much darker. And I'm just going to sort of go in and do strands. And this is the way they've drawn this hair is very cartoony, so it's not as easy to sort of go in and get the strands without it looking a little not so great just because of the art style. But I'm going to go in and just get sort of, especially around the tips, let's go in and create some strands because that helps give it like a hair look. And then at the very end, I'm going to go in this very dark gray, almost black. And not a lot, but I'm just going to go in and again put in a few strands here and there. Because again, this sort of helps give that illusion of sort of her like sort of white silver hair. All right, there we go. It's not perfect, but it's really hard without just leaving it uncolored to get that white look. And I prefer doing this. Makes her a little bit more exotic as well. 80s exotic as is. So yeah, there we go. All right, we are a little over 2 hours here. We're gonna wrap it up. And like I said, we'll just finish this on either another stream, or I'll do a longer form video with me finishing it. I'll stick a pull-up this week for that, so that you can decide how best for me to finish the page. In the meantime, thank you for hanging out. I appreciate you very much. It's been fun this morning. And again, we'll be doing this the first Sunday of every month, where it's just me and whatever you guys vote on. And poll will go up in a week or two for next month. Tomorrow I have the Princess of Power flip through video hitting, as well as some coloring. And the next Friday is Color and Chill with Masters of the Universe from the 1984 coloring book. Shorts all week. Saturday will be one of the last Kenner toy booklets I have from that sort of 1988 to 1998 period. It's one of the last ones that I haven't done a video for. And then next Sunday I'll be here live with a guest. My guest will be Aaron the Toy Enhancer. He and I have been working on a G.I. Joe coloring book this year, and he's going to come back and we're going to color some G.I. Joe pages. So that'll be next Sunday. So join us for that. In the meantime, I thank you for hanging out. I appreciate you all and the time you spend. Thank you for hanging out and keeping me company, and also enjoying all these great old toys, 80s toy lines the same as much as I do. So thank you. Allison Troy, Retro Toy Princess out. I'll see you in the next one.